settings would be great.
Yeah, at home. We have it at the restaurant, but it's nice to have it at home.
So I get to try your pork chop and restaurant, but
Yeah.
this is the first here.
We don't know how to make it, and you have to make it at home.
No pressure.
What? The easiest
My
way is
wife
to
will
get
make
it at the restaurant and bring it home.
There's that option.
No dishes.
No cleanup.
Yeah, that's the one thing we've all learned. I'll just take out.
Right. That's a nice option.
I had to take out chicken yesterday from Mustard's because we cleaned the kitchen for the shoot, and it was like, oh, this is easy.
Absolutely.
Sitting on the porch eating out of the boxes.
It's the new normal.
Isn't it weird?
It is.
Who would have thought?
Times have changed, for sure.
Hi, I'm Cindy Pawlcyn from Mustard's Grill, and we're in my home kitchen. And Jeff Owens is going to learn how to make the pork chop marinade. And then we're going to do Mustard's Grill pork chop and braised red cabbage. So hope you enjoy.
I'm excited.
Good, I'm glad.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. It's nice to have you here.
It's a beautiful Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. We've had so much seclusion. It's nice to see actual humans in the house.
Right? Outside of Zoom.
Other than my dog and my husband, yeah.
Right.
So you've got the book, Mustard's Grill Cookbook. Let me know what I'm supposed to do.
Oh my gosh. No pressure. So we've got obviously the ingredients
Yes, I got
prepped
all.
out here, which always makes it a little bit easier.
It's a
of course.
chef trick. Always get everything ready
Right, so I
ahead.
think we're gonna start with the marinade.
Mhm.
Okay. So we've got first ingredient on the top of the list here is 1 cup hoisin sauce.
Here it is. And do you know what hoisin is?
I would love the historical background on it.
Well, it's a Chinese barbecue sauce, and it's based on beans. Here, give the bowl a good smell. It's still, because a winemaker would be very nose-centric, and it's got that really rich kind of beanie. Isn't that wonderful? This is the brand I've used today. There's all different kinds. And you just want to make sure there are no lumps. It's usually very smooth. It's quite thick and yummy. And this is probably the secret to the marinade, because it gives it a nice viscosity. And then everything else is just background vocals. So what's next?
So next would be 1 tablespoon of sugar.
Oh, that's right here. And you want to mix that in because you don't want to have a lump of sugar in one spot. You want the marinade flavors to all be even. And then next,
Next would be 1.5 tablespoons of Tamari soy sauce.
that's this one, the dark rich. Here, smell that one. It's got a really nice nutty aroma. That's why we use Tamari. This particular one is 100% soybeans, so it's great for gluten-free people. A lot of soy sauces are based on wheat now.
Right, that is absolutely.
So
It's nice to have options too.
it is. Next,
So next we have 1.5 tablespoons of sherry vinegar.
and that's this. We have a nice dry aged one. Oh yeah, it's a little sharp, but you can really,
That is, yeah.
you can kind of smell it a little. It wakes everybody up.
I was gonna say, you can't go in too fast about it.
No, you can't drink it, that's for sure. If your wine tasted like that, you'd be very upset.
You know what, I probably wouldn't be here.
You would have retired.
I'll
Change
retire-
careers.
Retire myself, yes.
I'm sure things happen.
We'll try not to get to that point.
Yeah, no, I
Still
don't
want to keep
want
our
to.
fans out there.
Yeah, boy, you're making great products, so it should be easy. What's next?
So next is going to be 1.5 tablespoons rice vinegar.
That's here. And we can keep going.
Okay.
The trick is to just keep it nicely mixing in. And I'm doing okay with my spatula, but if you were worried, you could use a wire whisk. But I'm just slowly stirring it in while we're talking. Next, we have,
1 scallion.
oh, that's minced up really fine, so not too tiny, but a little bit.
So
You
white
want
and
to know
the
that you've got
2/3
scallions.
parts.
Yeah. I think it's nice to have both the white and the green. Some people just use the white, some people just use the green. I've
What do you
never,
think both adds?
well, the green is, the white's very strong, like oniony,
Mhm.
and the green is more subtle, like chive. So you get 2 different flavors,
Okay. So
and it gives you more depth.
more complexity there.
Okay, next.
Next would be 1 teaspoon Tabasco sauce.
That's here, a little tiny bit. And you know, if you don't have all these ingredients, you probably have a different brand of red pepper sauce, or a different, you know, don't be shy about playing around with it. It won't be exactly what mustard is, but it could be equally good. you know.
Right.
People get so focused on the exact right brand, and then when I was writing the books, everybody wanted the exact brand, the exact amount. And cooking is a little bit more fluid than that. Baking might be more critical,
I
but
was just thinking of that.
yeah, winemaking
Have to
might
be
be
pretty,
more.
well, you like to be precise in winemaking.
Yeah, you have to be. Next.
Next is going to be 1.5 teaspoons. Is that cum?
Oh,
Cum?
yeah,
Cum?
this one.
Kumquat black
The
bean
black bean
chili
paste.
sauce.
And that just adds a nice saltiness. It's a real, you can almost smell the salty brine of the fermented beans.
Oh yeah,
Isn't that cool?
it's really cool. It's going to come together nicely.
Yeah. And then I think we've got garlic and ginger, right?
That would be next, yes.
Okay, so we got our garlic and our ginger. Ginger I grate really fine. I should show you the grater. And then just chop the garlic. And then get that all mixed up. We have a little bit of white pepper, right?
Yes.
It's a little bit. Yeah.
You know the drill here.
A little bit of cilantro. So you can mix things more up. And a little bit of sesame oil. Oh, smell this. Get that nice. I always use a toasted. This is a toasted sesame oil. Oh, it sounds like somebody has a question.
Yeah, well, they're thanking you for having flexibility in your ingredients. And somebody also asked, what are you drinking any wine, or is the?
No, he's not
we have
letting
it.
me have any
We have it.
wine.
We
He's a tough guy, you know.
We do have it here. Of course, we probably should have a sip.
I think it would be good. We get to start with the Chardonnay. Nice to have you in.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers to you guys too. Thanks for tuning in.
We've got a couple of different options that I'm sure we'll get into over time as far as wine tap with this dish. But starting off with a little 2018 Odette Reserve Chardonnay
Yum.
from the Hudson Ranch down in Carneros.
Oh, I know. Isn't that a beautiful ranch?
I love that place.
Plus those
Gorgeous.
people are so nice.
He's, Lee has a little bit of passion.
A little bit, yeah.
Just a little bit. But he's really fun to work with. I love that entire team.
Yeah. I don't think you could find more fun.
No, he's
Really fun.
he's great. Makes you want to work twice as hard.
He does, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He gets his
He's
fun spot.
very, very professional. It's very delicious. So we have our pork chops, and you know we're lucky what they call French. Right now they're cutting the bones too small. They normally cut them a little bit longer. And then just because we want them to cook evenly on the grill, we pound them a little bit. And you just take a few drops. Doesn't take much water. And you put the water in the bag to help so you don't tear the pork chop when you're pounding it.
Okay.
So anything, like if you want to make a chicken paillard, put a little water in the bag or in between 2 sheets of plastic wrap and pound it. You'll have much better success.
That was just like a teaspoon, maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
Roughly?
Yeah, just a small splash. And then if you feel like it's sticking, you can add a little bit more. Water isn't going to hurt anything. And then on the flat side of your meat pounder, you want to just pound it out. You're basically looking for a 1/2 inch thickness so that it cooks evenly on the grill. You want all of your chops to cook evenly so that dinner comes out great for everybody. You know, you don't have one person with, you know, well done and one person with medium rare,
Right.
right? And then
Consistency is key.
it is. And then always what you want to do when you're going to marinate and you're going to work with raw and cooked product is take your marinade when it's fresh and just scoop some away to use as a basting sauce. All right, that way you never get raw meat juices in. So that's the trick.
Nobody would appreciate that outcome.
No, it's not a healthy thing. And then you marinate. I always marinate them quite liberally because that's how they get the flavor. And you can marinate up to 24 or 48 hours ahead. And if you want, you can marinate them right in the bag, but I always put them in a pan. And this marinade, I often see it doesn't take very much to do 2 chops. So you could probably do 8 chops easily
Oh, wow.
with this amount of marinade, 6 to 8 chops. So another thing, if it's only 2 of you at home, take out a bunch of the marinade. This marinade's fantastic on lamb or chicken. It's really wonderful. And so I think it's really kind of a fun marinade to have in your repertoire. You can use it for more things than just the barbecue pork chop.
It's pretty versatile.
Very versatile.
Picture it all coming together.
Yeah, it is. So we'll let that marinade. And then we're going to make one of the condiments that goes with this dish. Mustard's is famous for a lot of homemade condiments. We make our own ketchup. We make our own mustard sauces. We do all sorts of stuff from scratch. I figured they didn't come to a restaurant to have something from the store.
Yeah, exactly.
Although they always want nice ketchup. So.
We were talking about this earlier too, and I love your story about providing some of the background as far as how this got started.
Oh yeah.
Can you share that?
Sure. We took a trip in 1985. I was invited by the Chinese government with Jacques Pepin to go to China and cook with their chefs. And so we went back and forth. And when we were doing on the Great Wall of China, they did this narrow barbecues that they had, and they had one little lamb chop, and each lamb chop was dipped in this marinade and then finished on this grill. And I thought it was just the best flavor, so I learned how to make it.
And here we go.
So it's a recipe right from China.
Excellent.
Are you ready to make the next dish?
I am. Yes.
Were there any questions?
Someone was asking, how would you store this marinade? Is there any particular?
Oh, I just store it in the fridge covered. You know, in a small container so there's not a lot of airspace. I wouldn't freeze it, but it'll last a week for sure.
And then, Jeff, would you drink the Chardonnay with this dish, or what would you?
Well, I was kind of thinking about that. So it's fun to showcase all the wines that we make. But I think pork is very versatile, as wines are as well. And I know as the months are kind of warming up and we're having some nice weather and lots of sunshine, it's nice to have an option for white wine as well. So offering both a white and a red. And this particular Chardonnay is a little bit bigger and richer in body as well. So I thought, even though this is a hearty dish, I thought as far as a white option would probably be able to stand out. And it would be a nice pairing. So.
I think you made a nice choice because it is nice to have white wines in the summertime.
It is, yes, of course. It's perfect for today.
It is fun, yeah, it is an afternoon. Well, let's go make the red cabbage.
Okay.
Ready?
I am.
Well, turn your burner on. Have you ever toasted cumin seeds?
I have not.
Okay, good. We get to have you do something new and different. Spices, we always buy whole spices in restaurants, and we grind them either in a coffee grinder or in a mortar and pestle. Keep shaking the pan.
Constantly?
And you can keep it on.
Okay.
Yeah. And when it starts to become aromatic, you know you're getting there. And when you shake, here. So you kind of really move them around. I know it's a little noisy.
It's that easy.
Yeah, it's just that easy. I've only done it 800 million times. So. And as they start, they keep doing it. Yeah. Because what happens if you let them sit still, they'll burn. It's more the wrist than it is you're using your whole arm.
Okay.
You're going to twist it back like that. Are you starting to smell them?
I am.
Yeah, so a little bit more golden. And then you can pour them right in here. Pour them right in there. I think they're about ready. Yeah, I think they're good.
Good. Okay.
Yeah. You don't want to go too far because the spice will get bitter. And that's not a flavor that you want. Good job.
Okay. Very gentle.
They won't, they're pretty tough. Can't hurt them. You can burn them, but you can't hurt them. And then you just start grinding it
Okay.
till they're a nice powder.
Okay, so really.
So that releases all. What happens when you heat it is that the oils and the natural oils in the seeds come alive and they wake up and you get more aroma and more flavor, and we all know we eat with our noses. So to do the braised red cabbage, it's super, super simple. I love this dish for parties because you can make this cabbage 2 or 3 days ahead and then just heat it up when you're going to serve it and put it in a low oven to keep warm. So it's very great for home cooking. So I'm home cooks often forget to heat up their pans. Get your pan hot before you put your butter or your oil in. I had a German grandmother, so of course my braised red cabbage has butter in it. If you want to be more healthy or more Mediterranean, you could definitely use olive oil, peanut oil, whatever fat you prefer. My Russian dad probably would have put goose fat or duck fat in it, because he loved that flavor.
That sounds good too.
Yeah, that's good. Excuse me 1 second. So we just want to get these onions to kind of, they're nicely sizzling away. That sound is a really good sound for a cook, to hear that and smell that. You know how you can, well, yeah, everything's better in butter, right? But see how they're starting to lightly caramelize? This is when I'm going to add the salt, and I'm adding the salt now because it helps to get the juices out of the onions, and that helps them to saute more. And I've chosen a big huge pan. I've chosen a big huge pan because cabbage is big and it's hard when it goes in, and it takes up a lot of space, and then it wilts down later while it's cooking away slowly. So you can go ahead and add the cumin, and I'm going to add the pepper.
Is that, should I be grinding it?
No, it's beautiful.
That's good?
It's
Okay.
gorgeous. And that's a good thing for chefs and people. You can pick how you want it. You know, you can grind it in a spice grinder and get it really fine. You can do it like this. I always like doing it like that because I get the feeling I've done it.
Right.
So I add about half of that now. Yeah, it is.
About half of it?
Half of it, and then we can always add more seasoning later. So harder to take it away than to add. Okay, so we'll get that going in there, in that buttery, yummy onionness. And then we'll add the brown sugar. And you can use light or dark brown sugar. It's not a fussy recipe. You can use red wine vinegar, or I think we have cider vinegar today. I started making some more red wine vinegar because I ran out. And I'm trying not to go to the store. I'm trying to behave for our quarantine time. And then you add your cabbage.
It's nice to have some additional substitutes as well.
Yeah, you know, well, that's why, you know, it reminded me of how flexible you need to be in cooking and how it's not written in stone. And you can be creative. And I think people that don't cook as much as chefs get a little worried, and they think they have to really pay attention to exactly what it says. And, you know, think about what you've got in your cupboard, in your pantry, in your fridge, and think, well, that kind of would taste good in there.
Right, trying to be creative.
Yeah, trust your palate. You know what you like, you know what you enjoy. Make the recipe your own, too, whether it's quarantine or not. So see how it's getting all nice and shiny and wonderful? I love that part. Part of what I love about cooking is watching the changes in things. It's the same thing with wine. You have these beautiful grapes, and then you have this juice, and then you have wine, you know?
Right.
The juice is sweet and like candy, and you're like, how is this ever going to make a delicious wine that goes with food? And then,
Right, yeah, absolutely. And starting with the same raw ingredients, right?
yeah,
The growing season, the grapes. And
yeah, and the changes. So we get it all kind of nice and caramely like that, and then we turn it down and add the vinegar. And you look smell. And I wish you could smell it. They can't smell it. You can smell it. Isn't that
It is
lovely?
amazing.
And then this is the great part. You just put it on very low and leave it. And it can take half an hour, 45 minutes, whatever. If you're in a hurry, you can do it faster.
Okay.
I've always felt that longer and slower gives you more flavor. But that's how,
A
and
little bit
we're
more time
gonna,
for everything to kind of
Yeah.
integrate and come together.
right, and we're just gonna let it sit there and simmer away, okay?
Okay.
All right. Yes?
We have
any
some
questions?
admirers of your kitchen,
Oh.
and your oven range hood is getting some shout outs
Oh, cool.
and some love from Instagram.
I'll have to tell everybody because the hood, the whole kitchen, I mean, when I first bought the house, the kitchen was tiny. It was a little galley kitchen. And if you opened the oven, you'd burn your underarms. And if you opened the fridge, you couldn't open the oven. So if my husband was getting something out of the fridge, like a glass of wine or a beer, and the timer was going off, I had to wait till he found it. Because I was digging around, and I'm like, wait, something's burning in the oven, I can't get in there. So I eventually added on to the house and put this nice chef kitchen.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Nice and open. And
Well, it's very functional. There's the refrigerator, there's the prep table, there's the place that I go to cook, then over in there is the china silver glass, then you come in over here, and there's the sink for dishes, and this sink is always for cooking and food, and then that's the pastry area and the wood burning oven for pizzas. Oh yeah.
Lots of counters.
If you can ever have, well, you know, working in a kitchen, we get kind of carried away at how much space we think we need. This is way more than you need.
Better to have it.
It's work. Well, I've shot all the cookbooks that I've written. All the photos have been shot in this kitchen. I've done videos in the kitchen, so it's a working kitchen. Yes,
How many cookbooks have you written?
I've written 5. So yeah, the first one was Fog City Diner back in 1990, and then Mustard's Grill, and then Big Small Plates because I love appetizers, and then Supper Club because we used to do a supper club at Cindy's Backstreet Kitchen. So I gathered recipes from around the world, and then a little appetizer book. It was a flip book that was fun. Another question, wow.
This one's for Jeff. Are you cooking more at home based on the quarantine, and are the boys helping? It's supposed to be someone that knows you.
Yes, and yes,
cool.
of course. So for those of you who don't know my family, so I have two boys, 7 and 9. Actually, my oldest is birthday's today.
Oh, wow.
So 9. So we're trying to involve them a lot more and get them excited about what they're eating, and so they don't eat everything yet, but they do love to cook with pasta. So we make raviolis and pizza, and try to be creative with things that they can interact with as well.
That's always fun.
But my wife is like the person who is the main chef and loves to make, just loves food.
Yeah,
So she's coming up with great ideas and
that's good.
always in charge and makes plans and keeps everybody ready to go.
Yeah, I know. It was fun teaching my kids how to cook, and now we have grandbabies. They're what, 16 and 18 months old, and we're getting those, countertop things that can come and stand by the stove, and I love to get involved. Other questions?
This person wants to know if you have a kitchen garden at home.
Yes, I do. It's on the other side of the house. We have 2 quince trees, a fig tree, many citrus, lemons, limes, oranges. We have apples. We have pears. We've got artichokes, cardoons, chard. I think the kale is gone. We've still got some chard, and we still have some mustard greens and some Russian blue kale. And then we have tomato plants that are getting really big. I've already gotten zucchinis. I can show you my zucchini from the garden. I think they're here. This is the earliest, I think because I've been home gardening, that I've ever had zucchini. So we're having squash blossoms tonight for dinner. But I picked these about 2 hours ago. So the garden, because of quarantine, is really doing so well. But if you go to garden shops, they're out of everything.
I know.
It's like, I still haven't found parsley. So we won't have parsley this year.
Right. How nice is it just to step outside and
Oh my gosh, I've always loved that. I grew up in a family in the Midwest. We always had gardens. And my dad would start the tomato plants in January and February in Minnesota, and the house on every card table would be covered with these baby plants so that we'd have tomatoes by the 4th of July, which was a record. Well, should we go grill the pork chop? All right, so maybe you could take a wine for us to sip while we're...
Yeah, do you want to, since we have 3, why don't we make a shift to
I think that's a good idea.
the first red? How
Okay.
about that? Which
I'd
would be
love that.
I think it's the middle glass.
Oh, this one?
Right? That's the way that they record, Christine?
This one here.
Oh, it goes the other way.
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yep, just kidding. It's a test.
Testing me again.
To keep you on
Thanks,
your toes.
guys. Hero, what are you up to, huh? You want a pork chop? I think you do. Reader said he was born May 2nd, and the registration, because he's my first purebred dog in years, and he's actually was born May 9th, they said, so I just like him.
So just had a birthday.
Yep. Well, tell me about this wine.
So this is our adaptation Cabernet
Ooh.
Sauvignon. So obviously Cabernet is what we do here, and Napa Valley. And this is an example of a blend that represents the broader Napa Valley AVA. So we've got a little bit of mountain fruit in here. We have some Cabernet from the valley floor, a little bit of Merlot to kind of help soften out those tannins.
It's delicious.
Yeah, it's really approachable, and that's kind of the goal for this
it's going to
wine.
be a
So
wonderfully food-friendly wine too.
I think so. So it could go well for any night.
Yeah.
But I think definitely on a Wednesday
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah, it's really great.
Perfect way to start.
Super delicious and very aromatic. So you see, these are pork chops I marinated yesterday, and then I take off a lot of the marinade before I grill them, because we're going to baste it with marinade, and we don't want them to burn before we get nice caramelization. Does that make sense? So we have beautiful coals that are covered with white ash, which helps them to cook the meat and not char it like crazy.
So if you're baking a pork chop, what temp do you cook it at?
Well, when I'm going to do it in the house, like if it's raining out, I will pan sear them on both sides over medium-high heat, and then I will pop it in a 350, 400-degree oven, just until they're probably 130, 139, depending on how you like it. In the interior, test them with the meat thermometer. That's the most accurate. Chefs always just poke it because we've done it so many times, and you know, if this is well done when your hand is a tight fist, and as you release your fist, it gets more rare. And so you start to learn that as a chef because you're touching them and you're feeling it and washing your hands like crazy all the time. So I think that it's hard for me to describe how I do it because part of it's intuition from, you know, cooking 12, 15 hours a day for 37 years. You kind of get good at it. So I have an advantage.
You develop the touch.
Now one thing, oh, they're sticky. See, that wasn't good. So let it go. If it starts to stick, let it go. And you can always, I'm going to brush it with a little bit of the marinade. I probably could have put some oil on it before I did, but too busy drinking wine and having too much fun.
And what kind of oil would you put on there?
I would just probably use olive oil or canola or peanut, something simple. We tend not to use peanut in the restaurant because of allergies. So we have to, the world has changed and there's more allergies and that kind of stuff going around.
There's a couple of comments that you're a little difficult to hear. Maybe we can just speak up just a bit would help
Okay.
a little bit.
Probably
Sorry.
outside the noise.
Yeah.
Speak up. So as you see, it was sticking before, but the trick is let it cook and then it won't stick.
Yeah, that came off a lot.
Oh, it just came right off and the wines are really beautiful. So as soon as I get to turn it over, you'll see it and you'll be really impressed. You'll think I know what I'm doing, which is not necessarily true.
I believe it.
I'm glad. Well, my husband made the fire while we were upstairs doing all the other things, so John gets all the credit for building a beautiful fire.
Got the ball rolling.
And one thing I always like to tell people, you've gotten this coal, you've gotten this beautiful thing, put something in here. Put some bell peppers, put an onion, put some potatoes for later, so that next day you've got some beautiful kind of smoke roasted food that you can play with to do your next meal. And then the coal, because you never cook the coals completely out. So let's see how I did. Okay on that one, even better on that one. And then the trick is, baste them with marinade while they're nice and hot, and let the marinade kind of soak in while the pork chops are cooking. All right, and this marinade is a lovely marinade because it's got that beautiful dark, rich color, and it makes your appetite go, I think.
Oh, it's mine's going.
Good, I'm glad. That's yummy wine. It just smells so good.
Yes, I know. This is. I can't wait to flavor it too. I'm really excited about this one. Turned out great. It's drinking
You should
well
be
right now.
very proud of
really,
it.
Really approachable out of the gate.
Yeah,
A great example of Cabernet.
yeah, it is. It is wonderful.
We
What's
have
your
a-
favorite part of winemaking?
I think really the whole process is fascinating, but what I love is the challenge of every new vintage.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that you get this one shot for each vintage, and you have what Mother Nature gives you. So it's
Yeah.
never going to be the same.
No.
It's always going to keep you on your toes. It's another shot at creating an example of what a varietal can be in a certain appellation.
Yeah.
And I think that's really interesting. And you kind of get to follow it from the growing season, the start, kind of what we have now, through harvest, which is a fun time with all the energy and beautiful aromatics in the air. And then of course, the best part is right here with the wine.
enjoying it
thing
with
at the end,
people.
right?
Yeah, that's what I love about being a chef is
This is
just,
the romantic part.
yeah, it's a people industry and you're talking to people. The quarantine's been so hard. We're all making people happy and we love to do.
We have a question about the kind of charcoal you use, and the question is, do you use hardwood charcoal?
Yes, isn't it hardwood? It's lump. It's a hardwood lump charcoal. It looks more like mesquite, but it doesn't spark as much. It's not as rustic, and so you don't get all the flare up. Which in California, because of our fire issues, I like a charcoal that kind of is mellow. The other thing we cook at the restaurant is just almond wood, and we just use fresh aged wood. You know, green wood, not charcoal. But we do charcoal at home, and I encourage you if you've got a big wood pile, use your wood. It cooks differently than charcoal. It doesn't get quite as hot. Yes, another question?
If this person has a gas grill, would you suggest a certain temperature?
Well, to me, I'd preheat it at 400 and then turn it down while you're cooking them. Because of the sugar and the soy and the marinade, you want to cook them at a lower temp, but get the grates really good and hot before you put it on the gas grill. That would be
And
my...
that'd be probably to avoid burning.
Well, avoid...
If it gets too
Well,
hot,
it'll
it's
over
sugar.
caramelize because there's so much,
Right.
yummy stuff in here. And you want to avoid flare-ups as much as you can too, because they'll just char it. And the other thing that people tend to do, I've watched them, is that they'll just keep flipping it and flipping it. And it's like, let it cook. It's like a hard thing to get in the habit, which is easier in a restaurant because you're busy. If you're a busy restaurant, you have a lot of,
Right.
orders going on. It's easy to let something cook, but
I think we're all impatient these days.
yeah, we're all hungry
We want to
too.
get to the finish line.
Yeah, no. Patience is a very wonderful thing in cooking. You can always cook it more, you can't cook it less. You can always season it more, you can't season it less, so. Another question?
Do you have a favorite story from mustards?
Well, we actually got it open. That was a miracle. We didn't have any money when we opened it. And those were the days when you could actually open a business without any money. And we built the smoker. And we had this German bricklayer and this Italian oven guy. Don't call him cool. And they were directing my previous business partners and myself. And they were the hod boys. And I was the rebar vendor because we didn't know that there was a machine that would bend rebar. And brick structures are, based with rebar. So my boyfriend at the time had a pickup, and I would measure the rebar and put it into the part of the dumpster where the prongs go in for the dumpster to load it and dump it. And then I would back up his truck, which wasn't good for his truck, and bend the rebar.
That was creative.
And the last day we were there, we were doing it, some guy drove up and said, you can rent rebar benders. We're like, ah.
On the very last.
And that German bricklayer was just laughing so hard because he knew the whole time. Oops, see, I'm talking and not paying attention. So I think these guys are done. What do you think? Do they look good?
They look delicious.
They smell good. I wish you guys could smell on this. So then, take them upstairs, and we will plate them up. How does that sound? Good?
Sounds excellent.
Oh man, they do smell good. I'm gonna grab my wine.
I can certainly do that.
Super. Here we go. Thanks. Sorry. Oh yeah, you're not gonna get in. Cabbage is looking beautiful.
Smells amazing.
Oh, thank you.
I wish you all could have the front row seat of the real deal.
So, cabbage is getting, this is still a little underdone. So I'm gonna keep this cooking because I want it to be really, really soft and tender. This is our homemade, we call it Chinese mustard sauce. And the recipe's in the book, but I didn't want to spend all of your day. But it's a mixture of a homemade thick paste mustard, and then you finish it with creme fraiche. So it kind of cuts that real hot, like if you were going to get a hot honey mustard without the honey, that kind of pasty mustard, then we cut it with creme fraiche and it becomes a sauce. And then I made mashed potatoes and cabbage ahead, so I could actually show you how we plate things. Mustards, and this is another great part of it, just to do it ahead and just keep it warm in a little oven. And what wine are you going to try with this? Do you know yet?
Well, we also brought the Odette Estate Cabernet Sauvignon as well,
we're lucky.
which is kind of our flagship wine off of our estate in the heart of the Stag District. So if you wanted something to really take it to the next level, I think this would be the one.
Definitely. Cabbage on the potatoes, home style. And then, I always like to plate the pork chop with the bone up. And then nice little pile of the mustard sauce. And the beauty of being at home is you can have more mustard sauce on the side. It's always
It's a
in the
great
sauce.
thing.
And you get some knives and forks.
Oh, yeah. Amazing. Yeah, this is why I barely ate all that. Let's say about this.
All right, we get to see this wine now. I'm looking forward to it. So does it look all right? It's in my homemade plates.
Fabulous.
I've been making plates ever since I was a kid. And it's wonderful to be a potter and have a restaurant because the guys at the restaurant break them and then I get to make more. Well, this has been really fun.
Cheers. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This has been fantastic.
It's really fun.
Someone's asking, just a reminder, what are you drinking and what's it about?
Delicious red.
Delicious red, isn't it? So this is the 2017 Odette Estate Cabernet Sauvignon. So kind of the flagship wine that comes off of our estate right in the heart of the Stag District. We have about 45 acres, almost 38 acres planted.
Wow.
So we have Cabernet Sauvignon predominantly, a little Merlot, Malbec, Petit Verdot, and Cabernet Franc.
How
So we kind of use
fabulous.
those other varietals to help complement the Cabernet Sauvignon, just kind of depending on the year.
It's fabulous.
So yeah.
I'm glad you brought this.
Full bodied, it's got great acid and energy. The tannins are, I think, very in check. They're very fine and silky.
Yeah.
So it does have that kind of ageability factor because it's got the the firmness in the backbone.
Definitely.
But you can definitely appreciate it and enjoy it from day one.
Yeah, and it'll be great with the pork chop. This would be great with a lot of different dishes. I'll dig in, don't be shy, give it a taste and see if you get it. You got the green one. Looks like it's not rare inside, so that's good. I'm not gonna have to go back to school.
Somebody asked if a little pink was okay.
I think so. It hasn't been trichinosis since I think the 40s. I love this marinade.
Oh, it's really good.
Isn't it good? No hero, sorry. He doesn't get
He's
people
probably been
food.
around this dish once or twice.
Oh yeah.
Just waiting for something
He's
to hit the floor.
convinced, he's 4 years old, he's convinced that someday he'll get people food. Hasn't happened very often. Once
Still
in a
holding
while.
out hope.
Yeah. I gave him an apple one day, he went nuts. I thought it was the best thing he ever had. Questions?
Somebody wants to know if, first, if Mustards is reopening anytime soon, and also if Odette Winery is.
Well, Mustards is working very hard. There's a lot of changes in protocol, and so we're busy training and getting our staff ready, and hopefully mid to late next week we'll be open for limited service. Call for reservations because we have many less tables, fewer tables, And we're gonna also though be able to get an area set up and have tables in the garden for a while. So that'll be wonderful because the garden's gorgeous this year. We've actually had time to work on it. Well, we've just been doing to-go. And then we'll also be doing to-go, and I know the county and the state really want us to all promote to-go food, even if you took it somewhere and had a picnic nearby, because they don't know what's going to happen, and we want to keep everybody safe. So the menu's going to be a little bit more limited because, you know, we have to keep everybody so far apart and have so few people in the kitchen that we can't make the whole extensive menu, but we've brought all the hits back, so it's going to be fun. What's happening at the winery?
Well, we're not open yet, but we're following all the guidelines and you know, trying to get a plan in place so that when we do get that green light, we're going to be ready to go. And we're anxious just like everybody else, so we really want to really get that opportunity to come back, and we miss everybody.
I miss everybody,
It's
and
a totally different time. And
it's so weird to drive up and down the Napa Valley, and first there's no traffic, and we're like, oh, there's no traffic. And then closed signs everywhere. It's just like, and for a businesswoman, it's really hard.
yes.
And then I've lived here since '79, and it's kind of like home, and I don't like to see all my friends' businesses shuttered.
Right.
So let's get well, stay well.
Absolutely.
See what it
We'll be
takes.
back at it hopefully soon.
Yeah,
Across the
we
board.
are. Looking forward to it.
Okay.
A new experience. Never a dull moment.
Do we have any other questions?
Of the 3 wines, now that you've tried them and you've had it with this delicious dish, which did you feel was the best with the pork chop?
Well, we only actually had the pairing with the last one, although we could probably do all 3. But I love
This was
the
really
Odette,
super yummy.
for sure.
Yeah.
I think that if I had an option.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. This worked perfectly with the marinade and the pork. You know, I think it was a really wonderful combination.
Yeah.
It chose well, you know, with one while you're cooking and one while you're prepping, and then
Yes, well, we have to have
one
options.
while
Right?
you're having
It's
your
fun to
meal.
drink wine and cook at the same time,
It is. It really
or
is.
at least have a front row seat and watch you be entertained.
Well, you did a lot. I was impressed. Fearless.
Well, this is wonderful. Thank you so much
Thanks.
for having
I'm
us.
glad you're enjoying it. It's nice to have you guys here. I haven't had people in my house in what, 2 months?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a shock.
All right.
Okay.
Mm.
All right.